like this Toys R Us model, built by a Los Angeles company for the Navy, battlefield observation camera platforms. They may have anti-gravity component of their own. At least the propeller creates some anti-gravity lift. Although this is more or less a ducted fan air cushion craft. Harbinson, in his two books, Inception and Genesis, talks in a fictional form about the German development of turbojet flying saucers and their subsequent escape to the South Pole, where they are still to this day. They don't mention it in the books. My whole 2-year research in this field has discovered that the Genesis novel is a gross understatement rather than it's a fictional novel, but it's a gross understatement. It's a designer leak. The author probably doesn't speak English, doesn't speak German. He was given all these preceding newspaper articles because we found them through a book list, bibliographic list at the end of Genesis. This is a typical designer leak case where the government, by leaking some information, covers up for a lot more important information behind.
Is this presented as a fiction, these books?
And also it's presented as a fiction. However, in more serious books like Matten's UFOs, The Last Secret Weapon of the Third Reich, this is from the Canadian Samizdat outfit, we have discovered about 50 models of craft that the Germans built. This is a piston engine propeller driven saucer built by Junkers with 3 Junkers engines. And I'm trying to get a better photograph. I have a feeling that this external periphery rotates, creating the anti-gravity. The cabin is in the middle, and these are the engines with the propellers that are pushing the craft forward. Very interesting configuration. I don't have a better photograph yet, but I know somebody who has. Intercept UFO by Renato Vesco. Renato Vesco was the Italian Air Force chief for research and development. Basically the Italian Werner von Braun, we can call him. In his book, this is not a fictional book. This is a book, Intercept UFO or Intercept but Don't Shoot. This is a book about the whole development of probably a dozen different models of the German turbojet family of saucers, plus their underground constructions that was traced through dozens of British intelligence reports that were written after the war, going through piles of information that was taken out of the German underground bases. And he's the first one that mentions the Focke-Wulf plane, or the Shriver discs. We will show several drawings that basically point to the same configuration, only the engines here were airbrushed to prevent us from figuring out how the hell they would spin this big disc. Similar spinning discs are used by Dornier these days for this unmanned observation camera platform. This is the landing disc, and it does not rotate. The only thing that rotates is this disc with these propellers. However, if you look carefully, these propellers are too short and too narrow, too small to lift this big machine. If this is a helicopter only, they have to be about as long as here. They say that this is a gyroscopic stabilizer that keeps it stable. It is, but also it's the main component of the lift. So we see how the technology already trickles down. And we have the first, I mean, this is a public domain literature. Nothing of this was found in secret army reports or whatever.
Bladed things at the bottom, they have things with blades on the bottom.
Oh, no, this is probably amortizers for the landing gear. It does not rotate. Only this thing rotates. I mean, absolutely no way for these short blades to lift the whole heavy machine in the air. Again, drawings of the German flying saucers. Here they show the 2 engines pushing it forward. So we have how little by little information is piled together. Little by little. This is an important link here. At least we know how they were propelled forward. This is one can figure out from here that actually you can use the same engine to spin the thing around. The Germans developed similar flying bombs, hovering bombs, anti-gravity bombs that would fly in the air waiting for the bombers to come. 4 ramjets would spin the propeller around the bomb, and because of anti-gravity they were extremely economical, and they could wait quite long up there in the sky waiting for the bombers to come. Henry Coanda developed in the 30s, this is the so-called lenticular aerodyne. This is a turbojet / ramjet anti-gravity craft. These are additional ramjets for creating vertical lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 9 of them. The ramjets here. And these are the turbojets, the turbojet turbines. We see how many of them. This is the turbine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the exhaust gas is blown to the periphery and is vented through these openings. They have probably airbrushed the opening because it should be vented tangentially in order to spin the craft. I think the whole craft is spinning. And an indicator for that is that the control rod is made at the very center of the cabin. That's only because the cabin is gyroscopically stabilized not to rotate. The whole thing underneath rotates. That's why the shaft can be only in the center, otherwise it will be making circles in the cabin and the pilot has to chase it. Compressed air goes through these openings and spins the craft, and these small pitchable, pivotable fans run on this same compressed air would create the horizontal component of the lift in order to stabilize the craft and to move it in different directions. This is the prototype of a whole family of Russian, it's a Freudian slip of the mouth, but quite probably so, of German turbojet inboard engine craft. In a single shot of a camera, a saucer can fly so many times over the screen exactly because it negates the inertial mass. And the saucer driver inside can be sitting upright talking all that time as if he's in the middle of his living room at home without feeling any of these incredible G-forces. It is simple fundamental saucer physics. You don't need any special hardware to attain that. More advanced models of the Schriever craft were made with bigger rocket engines and with stabilizer. They probably had some wobbling or some problem with that. This is the first smaller model and the later model with a stabilizer. Some sources claim that this was running at 2,000 kilometers an hour, this was running at 4,000 kilometers an hour. They had titanium alloys at the time and quite well developed composite materials. The Horten Brothers flying wing was made almost entirely of composite materials. 50 years before they started making carbon fiber composite. Later on I heard stories of outboard engines being attached to spinning craft, 2 or 4 or more rocket engines, pulse jets, ramjets, turbojets, you name it, the Germans have probably tried it, as they always do. And here with this craft they started to use only gyroscopic anti-gravity. They didn't need the propellers anymore. This is a very rare drawing, and again we see the saucer drivers standing upright working the controls with no seat belts and no seats attached. It's extremely important. This explains the tremendous acceleration of a craft, and this explains how the Germans were able to go to the moon and back on a truckload of kerosene and a truckload of liquid oxygen, or even possibly a truckload of alcohol from mashed potatoes, fermented mashed potatoes, potato power to the moon, simply because of the negation of the inertial mass, and this craft can attain tremendous acceleration.